electricity and water cut off. Airstrikes rain down on cities and towns, and public infrastructures lies in ruins. And this while relentless bombardment of Gaza continues, claiming 41 more innocent lives today alone. We are witnessing the largest Israeli military operation in the West Bank since 2002. The occupation forces have publicly declared the intention to continue this onslaught for an indefinite period, deploying hundreds of soldiers to forcibly displace Palestinians from their homes. This is not merely an act of war, it is a calculated energy strategy of ethnic cleansing, a deliberate attempt to erase the Palestinian people from their own land. For almost a year, Gaza has been subjected to what can only be described as genocide. Now this genocidal fury has spread the West Bank as the Zionist regime desperately seeks the crush of indomitable spirit of Palestinian resistance. Forced displacement, ethnic cleansing, and mass murder. These are the tools of an occupation that knows no bounds, that stops at nothing to quench its insatiable thirst for blood. But let us be clear, Israel's intentions are unmistakable. They seek to generalize this genocide to erase the very existence of the Palestinian people. Yet despite this brutality, despite the overwhelming force, the Palestinian spirit remains unbroken. To all the free people of the world, and I say, we cannot remain silent, and we cannot stand idly by as this atrocity unfolds, because we have a moral duty as human beings, a moral obligation to rise up against this injustice, to stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people, with the oppressed, their struggle for freedom and dignity. Because now is the time for us to speak up, to ask and to demand the end to this merciless, over 76 years of merciless occupation, this apartheid, this genocide, because we have us to unite in our common humanity and declare in our voice that the oppression of the Palestinian people must end. Because we will not rest until justice prevails, until the Palestinian people can live in peace, free from fear and free from occupation and free from the threat of annihilation. Together we must stand against this tyranny, against this brutal regime that seeks to erase the entire people. Because together we must rise up and speak up against this brutal ongoing genocide that has been going for over these 10 agonizing months. How many more people is it going to take for the US, for the UK to end the arms sales, to call for a permanent immediate ceasefire, to end this merciless occupation that has been going for 76 years, to end this genocide? Because we cannot stay silent when we see a place being bombarded. This is what we do. This is what we do when we call for an emergency demo to call an end for this brutal genocide. So repeat after me. We want justice, you say how.
We want justice, you say how.
We want justice, you say how.
We want justice, you say
I
how.
can't hear you. We want justice, you say how.
We want justice, you say how.
End the occupation now.
End the occupation now.
End the occupation now.
End the occupation now.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Stop the genocide.
Stop the genocide.
End apartheid.
End apartheid.
Decolonize.
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 Free, free, free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Now I want us to give us a round of applause for our next speaker, a comrade of mine from YFP. Let's give her a round of applause.
The largest scale military operation in the West Bank since 2022. Drone strikes, targeting of refugee camps, of schools, of hospitals, of homes. Zionist foot soldiers and military vehicles rolled out across occupied land indiscriminately shooting and bombing Palestinians. I know that as we stand here reflecting on this latest intensification and escalation of Zionist atrocities, we are processing a wide range of emotions: horror, grief, rage. I have to ask you though, amongst all of these emotions, do any of you feel surprised? No. Do any of you feel surprised? No. Do you feel surprised that the Zionist entity, who have received total backing from the Imperial West for their now 11 months of live-streamed televised genocide, has now chosen to escalate and broaden their ethnic cleansing of Palestine? Do you feel surprised that after consistently telling us that they do not view Palestinians as human, that there is no such thing as an innocent Palestinian, that they have now ramped up their systematic murder and land theft of Palestinians across all Palestinian territories? Every single day, we witness Zionist figureheads, be they politicians, military leaders, TV show hosts, openly call for and demand that Israel gets the job done. Just this week, an IOS soldier who raped Palestinian prisoners has been paraded around Israel, given TV show airtime to defend, to celebrate his actions. How, after all of this, could any of us be surprised that Israel has now chosen to intensify and broaden its mission of ethnically cleansing the entirety of Palestine? Every single aspect of these atrocities, these horrors, must be understood for what they are. They are all integral characteristics of Zionism, a fascist, ethno-nationalist program. This latest escalation is a direct product of every single actor, every single action that justified and legitimised the daily atrocities that Israel has been and continues to enact in Gaza. This is what happens when genocide, theft, torture, indefinite detention, rape are justified to us as Israel defending itself. Every single time British political leaders and CEOs of complicit companies inform us that they support Israel's right to defend itself, they are telling us that they support every single one of these horrors. None of them can ever tell us that they did not know what their actions are supporting and enabling. We will never rest until the entirety of Palestine, from the river to the sea, is liberated from Zionism and from all of these atrocities that Zionism necessitates. That is why, despite state repression, despite the demonisation that we get every day from the media, that is why we still come out and we chant, "From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
Now we can see from that speech over there that the Western media won't publish what the Palestinians are dealing with the rape that they're dealing with the killings. The Western media won't show that. But we are here to make sure that we speak up against that. Because the Western media are more directly complicit by now showing the amount of numbers of children who have been killed, the amount of numbers of innocent women that have been raped. So repeat after me. Every time that media lies.
Every time the media lies.
Every time the media lies.
Every time the media lies.
A neighborhood in Gaza died.
A neighborhood in Gaza dies.
A neighborhood in Gaza died.
A neighborhood in Gaza dies.
Every time the media lies.
Every time the media lies.
A little child in Gaza died.
A little child in Gaza dies.
Now let's give a round of applause for our next speaker.
with the death toll only steadily increasing. The attack on Palestinian life extends beyond that, with Israeli military vehicles surrounding hospitals and obstructing ambulances to deprive Palestinians of medical aid, whilst their monstrous bulldozers are destructing Palestinian infrastructure, besieging an ambulance station and forcibly lining paramedics up against the wall in a cowardly attempt to intimidate them and to deprive them of their duty, as was done in the besieged Al-Farah camps this morning, is yet another attack on Palestinian life, as is all this time. Palestinians in the West Bank are being ordered to evacuate their homes temporarily. Now, where have we heard this narrative before? We've been hearing it for the last 10 months in Gaza as people have been displaced from one place to the other multiple times. We heard the same thing in 2014 and 2021 when Gaza was also under Zionist attack. This was the same tactic used in 2002 in the West Bank, and it's the same thing Palestinians heard during the Nakba in 1948. Because the goal of the Zionist regime has always been land grabs and the annexation of Palestinian land. It has always been violence and murder and ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. Meanwhile, the Zionist war machine is also working overtime as it carries out back-to-back massacres across Gaza. These have claimed over 60 lives in the last 24 hours and left hundreds more with life-changing injuries. Massacres in schools, hospitals, refugee camps, on safety roads. Brutality is inseparable from Zionism. Murder is inseparable from Zionism. And settler violence is inseparable from the Zionist ideology. But I want to remind you that colonial violence in the occupied West Bank is nothing new. The fact that it's occupied is colonial violence in itself. What we are seeing today is merely an escalation of the everyday violence against Palestinians. Daily raids and illegal arrests across refugee camps in the West Bank are colonial violence. The destruction of Palestinian infrastructure is colonial violence. Cutting off water supply and electricity for Palestinians is colonial violence. Military checkpoints where Palestinians are verbally, physically, and sexually abused by Israeli soldiers is colonial violence. But as always, the Zionist regime's terror attacks are being met with unwavering resistance from Palestinians across the West Bank and Gaza. They remain steadfast in their homes, in their hospitals, on their streets. They remain steadfast on their land, echoing the footsteps and defiance of those that came before them. So as the people of Palestine, especially the youth, are fighting for their right to exist as free people, their right to resist the violence of the occupation, we will continue to come out on the streets in our thousands and in our millions across the globe to voice our firm solidarity with them. We fuel ourselves with the spirit of their resistance when we face genocide-enabling companies in the imperial core. Because the culprits and the murderers of the Palestinians aren't just operating in occupied Palestine. They are sat in fancy offices not even 5 minutes away from here. The murder and brutality against Palestinians and the trail of bloodshed amounting from the settler violence can be traced right back to companies like Barclays and BNY Mellon with their millions invested in Elbit systems. So until we put these limbs of the Zionist state, we have a duty not to just bear witness and speak out against the injustices of the Zionist regime, but to confront it and dismantle the imperial war machine until Palestine is free from the river to the sea.
Will be free.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
From the sea to the river.
Palestine will live forever.
Now I want to introduce our next speaker from Friends of Al-Aqsa. Please give them a round of applause.
Assalamu alaikum, hello to freedom and the land of olives and jasmine, from Gaza to Jerusalem and Haifa to Jenin. I'm here to speak about Mukawama. In English, that translates to the resistance. We all know a genocide has been taking place and it is still ongoing. Not since October 7th, but since the Nakba, aka the catastrophe in 1948. that 76 years where 750,000 Palestinians were exiled from the land by terrorists. We have mobilized tonight for an emergency demo once again because of the images coming out of Palestine. The Zionists have launched a military offensive in occupied West Bank, attacking Jenin, Nablus, Tulkarm and Tubas from land and air. It is the largest attack since the Second Intifada that took place between 2000 and 2005. But we don't just refer to what's happening in Palestine as just an occupation. We refer to it as 76 years of resistance, 76 years of resilience, 76 years where Palestinians have continued to fight and will continue to fight until their land is liberated, until the people are liberated, and until their right of return is granted for every single Palestinian in the diaspora. Salute to the resistance in Palestine. Salute to the resistance across the world. Salute to some parts of the Middle East, in the United States and Europe. Salute to the resistance across the country, including the student encampment. And salute to the resistance here at this very moment in what I like to call Palchester. You could have been anywhere right now, but you chose to resist for our Palestinian brothers and sisters. We are the Palestinian resistance in the West, and we will globalize the Intifada. A Palestinian friend of mine in London once wrote something beautiful towards the end of last year. Resistance is the deepest form of love, and I completely agree with that because it is also the key to return. Palestinians hold the key to stolen democracy. The mothers in Palestine sing something about the resistance as well. Now I won't do the same, but I'll read it out for you. Zarin al-Miramiye, Palestine bitnad al-Fidaiye. And it means we planted the sage, Palestine is calling for the resistance. Our fight is a battle of resistance. We resist for our freedom, for equality, and for justice. A fight for resistance against the various forces who have wanted to demonize, destructure, deconstruct, and erase our struggle for liberation. We fight for a moral cause. We fight for our principles and for liberation. This moral armor that we possess will never be broken by any of their weapons of destruction. We are not terrorists, we are the people of freedom. If your existence feels like resistance, then your joy is revolutionary. We lift the banner every week because it is a reminder. We wave the flag every week because of its beautiful colors and meaning. We wear our kuffiyas because it is part of us. We carry the stories of those before us so that their stories can carry on for generations to come. We post on social media because it's the least we can do. We speak out for those who are unheard because it is our job to be their voices. We march for those who are martyred and for those surviving because we give them hope. We make dua, we pray for them because we remember where we're from. We protest because it's an obligation. When oppression becomes law, resistance becomes duty. This is not just annexation nor occupation, it is a fight for liberation. This is about collective struggle and collective liberation. I have a message for the establishment, the Zionist regime, and if you saw it on Instagram last night, the chickens as well. We will bring the whole thing down and we will continue until our last breath. From Gaza to Jenin, revolution until victory, long live resistance. I'm going to end this with one of my favorite Arabic chants. Ali, 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 Ali. Ali, 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 Ali. Ali, alam الثورة Ali. Ali, alam الثورة Ali. And in English that translates to raise, 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 raise the flag of revolution. Thank you. If someone's left that clear, it's over here. Please come there. Thank you.
We know that we don't only define Palestinians